So I, yeah, I wanna open. Mhm, sure.
Before we get started, if I just noticed that Carrie just put in the chat the sign-in sheet. So everyone should just go start signing. So let's just wait like another minute or so.
Sure, sure.
Thanks, Carrie. For those of you who just joined us, we have families now who are signing in. If you could just go ahead and sign in into the link. Harry, do you need to put it up again?
Yeah, anybody who came after can't access the chat, so I'll do it one more time.
And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to disable the chat just so that Erin could facilitate the workshop and so that we could just hold off on our questions. There will be a time at the end where our families can unmute themselves and can ask any questions that you guys have. Okay. I think that we're good now. We can get started. It's about 53, and that was about.
Okay, perfect. So again, I'm Erin Langstaff, and I wanted to welcome you and thank you so much for being here for our middle school information session. The one piece that I think I'll start with that's most important is that our district, for all of our kids being at PS 130 is District 15. One piece that I'll share through the workshop and then at the end is I will encourage everyone to check your home address because what sometimes can feel like a surprise, but just is something unique about our area is that many families have a dual zone in the sense that you may be zoned for District 20 regarding your home address. So all of your children are eligible to have District 15 schools as choices, but some of you may also have another district as an option due to where your home address is. So I just wanted to say that and just say that every person with a student at PS 130 will have options in all the District 15 schools as possibilities. Your home address just adds additional possibilities. So Jackie, I'm gonna start if you could start the PowerPoint. And I wanted to say that you will receive documents after the workshop in the coming days that will just give you some more additional information that will help you prepare. The other important thing I want to say tonight is that the Department of Education has moved the process timeline up again. So last year it was very delayed post-pandemic. And this year they're hitting the ground running. And we had this workshop planned when they, came later and said the application is going to open this month. And so it's opening October 26th. So I kept this meeting, but I'll just say, in the event that they give us the training next week and there is something different, I will communicate that to you. So all of this workshop will be with what was happening last year and from what my experience has been over the years. If something changes, I will absolutely correct myself and share what the updates are. I'm going to a training a week from today to receive the updated information, just so that you're receiving everything you need as it's going to open and start very quickly in the next coming couple of weeks.
I noticed that we had a few other, couple other parents that came and joined us. Carrie's going to go ahead and put the link. If those families could just go ahead and just sign in. And Erin will start.
Jackie, I can't because it's disabled right now. But I think if you just copy and paste, you could copy and paste in the link I did before if you have access, or disable it, either one.
So again, District 15, you'll have choices in 15, you'll have choices in your district of your home residence. We have no zoned middle schools in 15, but we do have zoned middle schools if your home is in 20 or 17 or 21. We also have citywide programs, which means that they're open to all boroughs and all students, and they're typically screened programs. They're typically audition programs. There are also borough-wide programs only open to students in Brooklyn. There are some specialized programs that you may also be eligible for. And then the last piece are charter schools. And I mentioned those just because they're completely separate from the process. If you're interested in charter schools, it's a separate, all separate applications for any workshop that you are. Sorry, hold on one second, Jackie. I have the sign-in sheet up. So again, if you're interested in charter school, it will be a separate application for every school that you're applying to. So if you're applying to 3 schools, you're gonna have 3 separate applications just for charter. So I just wanted to say that because it's important to know that those are separate websites. You have to say that you're interested in Bugs or Brooklyn Prospect Charter. Those are all separate applications with a larger window. So they open earlier and they stay open a little bit later. And I will get, toward the end, I will get to some more information about charters. I will also say that regarding audition or interview schools, I don't know yet whether they're virtual, whether they'll be in person again. Last year you did videos that you uploaded to middle school programs, and they were able to view for, say, Mark Twain, which is a citywide program. You would, if you're auditioning, you would be uploading a video in the talent of your child's preference. So I just wanted to share that, but I'll get a little bit more into that. Jackie, you can go ahead. Some general sources of information will be through Sasha and myself. Jackie, anyone you see here has been through at least 2 years of the information, if not much more. Carrie's here and is a parent that has gone through it. So has Jackie. So we do have, and there are parents that are going through it now that have gone through the process in years past. Please keep checking Kinsella and your child's book bag for open houses, tours, and fairs. It's also important that when you decide on the schools that you're interested in, it's important to check websites of middle schools that you care to look into. I will share all the District 15 schools, the District 20 schools, and then some of the citywide. You'll receive those as handouts just so that you'll know what you're choosing from if you're just looking at 15 and what you might be looking at if you're looking at 15 and 20. So the other unique piece that I didn't say that I should have said is District 15 is not a district where you just go to a certain school. So it's a ranking choice program. So what that means is that you have all the schools either for 15 and 20 or 15 and 17, wherever you're residing and your child's going to school, your application will have choices there, and you will put the ranking of those schools in the order that you're most interested. So your school you want the most for your child would be number 1, all the way down and up, down through number 12. And they would be in your true order of preference. So that's the other unique piece of District 15. If you're not familiar, some schools just, you go to your zone school, some districts. 15 doesn't have that. And that's why they're asking for you to rank what you would most want, so that in the event that there's, they're looking, where children will be going, your vote for what you want in the order that you want it has been put in. So it's really important that you really look at the schools and decide the order that you would like them in, because where you most want to go, it's really important that those choices are in that order. You'll also need to know that if you're applying to a specialized talent audition school, they may have their own, like I said, upload videos, or they may have a live in-person audition. There'll be different requirements depending upon the school that you're interested in. And then I just strongly encourage everyone here to join the 5th grade parent committee. It really offers a wealth of support and knowledge for 5th grade parents. It's not just about middle school. It involves all of the events that happen in 5th grade, all of the senior trip, and then all of the other things like graduation. So I would say that middle school is a part of that, but I think most parents have been really happy to be looped into the 5th grade committee to know what is coming up for this year. It's a busy year for our kids. It's an exciting year. So I encourage you to get looped into it, at least the alerts from the 5th grade parent committee. Some important documents you'll receive. I will say this, that much as we receive information, it will be on Constella, and it will be backpacked if it's a paper copy, because some families are not fully on Constella or maybe aren't on it as frequently. And some of the middle school tours and workshops, they come up individually, and they can come up at some point every day. And at some point, a couple of days will pass and they're not posted. Again, if you're very interested in a school, I highly recommend that you check also that website and make sure that if they are starting virtual auditions that you are, or tours, that you are signed up for those in the event that that's going to be your first or second choice. And it's important to you that you would like to see that school. We keep up with as many alerts that come to us. It's just because when you see the number of possibilities of schools, it's difficult for us to give every bit of the information that comes. So you'll receive the schools, and then I highly encourage you to go on the websites and look at what's upcoming for those top choices that you're interested in. So I'm going to speak a lot more about this. I know Jackie has shared some information. All the applications for District 15 are handled online on My Schools. It is different than the New York Schools account, so you will not be able to access My Schools yet. The Department of Education, I will say that in the next week or so, well, they'll have to, in the next week, you'll receive a code with directions on how to log in. And that will be how you will go on My Schools. That is the only way for you to view your child's middle school application. So once you get your special code, that will be the most important paper that you'll see coming next. In the event that you're starting to hear families have received their code and you have not, please let us know, and it's easy for us to get that to you. But they will mail them, and then I'll be able to access them if you have not received it. The next most important document is the middle school application. With what I said, with it being online, if you're more comfortable having worksheets or being able to use a paper copy, you will not be able to submit it that way, but you certainly could work on the application that way. And then you'll be able to once sorry, hold on one second. Jackie. Is it, yeah, I just want to make sure, is it, okay, you got it, never mind.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. So when you receive the middle school application, you can work on it on a paper copy, but ultimately you'll have to submit choices online. With that said, we're here to help. If you're having any issue getting on My Schools, you can email Jackie and I, and have done a lot of in-person appointments for families that were having difficulty with the program or with choosing schools. All of the schools will be accessible for you to look at on My Schools. I just find having the list of our district is more helpful when you're saying, where do I start from? So we will share those lists with you. The next part is if there are any new middle schools that are built or that open that you'll be eligible for. It may come, if there is one, later at a different level, but you'll be able to do another application. The last, second to last is the placement letter. So the estimate that I'm seeing on the timeline is that your child, after ranking schools and going through like the middle part of the school year, the goal is to have your placement letter by April. So they're saying that is the anticipated release of placement. Just so you know, in District 15, you may put 12 choices, but you'll still receive one placement. So when it says placement letter, you'll receive one school that your child has gotten into. In the event that is not something that you wanted, the last document that's important is the waitlist process. That's in place from the former appeals process. Now, all the schools that you put above your choice. So if you get choice 4, choice 1, 2, and 3 are automatically on a wait list. So I'll show you a little bit more about that after. And don't forget that if you're applying to a specialized program, those may all require separate pieces or documents, and just make sure that you're preparing those in the event that you're applying to a private school or a specialized school. Those will not appear on your application. Okay, Jack. Okay, so our recommended meetings are, of course, this one. But again, you may see some follow-up information, as it seems the Department of Education, which has undergone many, many changes, is releasing information quickly and over the next couple of weeks. So we will update any information that you've missed, and we may have to have a follow-up meeting. Another recommended meeting, you'll receive information if we're having a middle school fair, open house, or tour. District CEC meetings are a critical component of middle school information, because the CEC is very involved and helpful in connecting us with the principals of middle school. So the CEC meeting for middle school typically has a principal forum where each principal from our District 15 schools has the opportunity to share a bit about their school, and parents are able to listen in. I don't know if it will be virtual, but that's another great meeting with a wealth of information. Parent-teacher conferences, of course, you're free to schedule with your child's teacher, and then also schedule with myself or whoever else you need in support of middle school. You are free to schedule an appointment separate for middle school at parent-teacher conferences. It won't give us as much time, but if you have just some brief questions, then it will be a possibility there. 5th grade committee meetings, again, you can opt on the 5th grade committee to just receive information, or you can participate, you can volunteer. When we start getting toward the second half of the year in the spring, there'll be many, many volunteer opportunities, and it's really nice for 5th grade parents to be able to participate in 5th grade in their child's senior year at PS 130.
Erin, can I just jump in? I know Gretchen and the 5th grade committee. I know Gretchen is here.
Oh, Gretchen's here. Okay.
I'm not sure about the other.
Hello.
Hi, Hi, Gretchen.
Hi. Thank you so much. I am in a restaurant, so I'm sorry if this is crazy, but I just wanted to say the middle school panel is on November 9th. So please get ready for that. Alumni from as many different schools as we can get will come to talk about their schools, answer a few questions, I believe. And this is actually my second go around on this. And I know for the first time, it was actually really helpful to hear what the kids themselves are saying about their schools. So get that on the calendar now. I'm sure we'll be sending out information about it, but November 9th, I think is a 2-hour session because we try to get as many kids from as many different schools as possible to come. So thank you so much.
And Gretchen, I'm sorry, Gretchen, just one more thing.
Yes.
For fifth grade committee, can families just email if they're not on the committee and they want to be, how can they
Oh.
join?
Yes, absolutely. And we're working on Constella, getting every fifth grade parent into the Constella group. And through that, you'll hear about much more information about, we need to do, there'll be, there's senior dues, they do a lot of fun things. And if they're, 2 years ago, my fifth grade son did not get to do a lot of things, but we're hoping good things for this year. That there is graduation, there's a picnic, or not a picnic, a barbecue, a dance, and some trip that we're trying to figure out. There is dues, and then will be some fundraising as well. Where Thomas has agreed to do the photos, where Thomas Newberger, a former parent, and now he's working on the camera club, is willing to do family photos, which is a great fundraiser for this. And then we are just hoping that we get some other parents to join in, and we'll be able to knock through the dues and get this, so just so they have a great fifth grade experience.
Thanks, Gretchen.
And Erin, with that, parents, I know that Gretchen had said that we're trying to get families onto the fifth grade committee through Constella, but parents, you guys have that option too. So I know I went through the we have gone through the Constella and we have all our families join, but we encourage everyone to not only just join in your classroom, but to also join the fifth grade committee, and you're able to do that on your own. So if you, and I know that there's about 50 families here, so by tomorrow I should see all 57 families join that fifth grade committee. Thanks.
And is there a way to, and I think we're trying to figure out a way that we can just put every fifth grade family in the fifth grade committee. Can we do that?
It's just one by one. So if all 57 families here, that will be less than we will have to do on our end. Because we have 100 families, 100 fifth grade students.
Okay, so do it yourself, please, please, please. Thank you.
It'll be good because you'll want to be in the know. There's a lot of things, and then it doesn't mean you have to do every single event, but you could decide this one thing that I have time to volunteer, or I can, join this morning portion. It's nice to be part of such a special year for the fifth grade. So
yeah. And then it's not just that, also you may have some families. Gretchen might have some information about a open house that just, popped up, or I'm just saying, just anybody. Gretchen, I'm sorry to just put you on the spot, but where anyone can just put that information into the fifth grade community and everyone is actually seeing it at the same time. So it's really.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matthew Brown and Deidre Struck are also co-chairing this with me, and all three of us have been through this before. So just in terms of a resource there's others on this call, I'm sure, who's also been through this, but once you've done it, it does not seem as such a crazy thing, like once you've done it once, but it's all different too at some level, because like if there's in-person open houses, we didn't have any of that. So there's definite changes too.
perfect, thanks. Okay, so in the last section just says the middle school panel. It's actually a lot of fun to go hear what kids feel. That it wouldn't even matter if we planned the alumni event. The kids say what they feel and what's really going on. So it's kind of a very honest, raw conversation that the kids say, hey, I don't really like this about the middle school. I really love this. I was surprised about this. I think it's a very helpful authentic, down to earth meeting where kids are really speaking their experience.
And just to be clear, that is what she just spoke about is on November 9th, is the alumni panels on November 9th.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Okay, Jackie, you can go ahead. Okay, I'm gonna keep going, and the reason is because I'm guessing any real questions that come up will come in the bulk of this section of the workshop. When I take another minute to just sip some water, we'll give you a minute to ask any questions up to this point. So this just breaks down what I've shared a little bit further. You'll get a code in the mail in the next week for your My Schools, very different than New York City schools, which Jackie has been helping with My Student. You need a separate, it's a totally different deal. My Schools is the only way to view your middle school application. Once you have access, you'll get a crazy weird password. I highly recommend that you make it something simple and save it, something you'll remember, because the strange code that you get the first time, no one would be able to remember. So we recommend that you just change it to something that is helpful and that you'll remember. Once you go on there, you'll see that your child specific populated information is there. And in there, that is where you will be able to check your child's information, make sure that there's no mistakes that are really important to correct, name, address, phone number, whatever you're gonna want the middle schools to have to access you. So if you see a phone number that's wrong, let us know. The only thing you need proof of is if it's something like a change of address, where you'd have to go in person and have that done in the office, or say that you see a mistake on something from a birth certificate, it'll, just require a documentation. And I know that sounds like that couldn't happen, but these clerical errors happen all the time. So just make sure to check your application and make sure the information is as you expected. If it's missing an apartment number, please update it, because if the letters are going to come in the mail, and you may choose email, but if it comes in your mail and you don't have an apartment number, it won't come to you. So just take the time to review your child's personal information and make sure everything looks correct. One thing we always get when I say that, parents are surprised that they're zoned for District 20. It's one of the things about our district, that your children are 15 at PS 130, but often your home address makes you also zoned for Ditmas. So if you see your application and you think that's a mistake, there's a good chance that if your address is correct, you may be zoned for 15 you could rank 15, but you're zoned in 20. And we can look at that once you open your applications in the next week. Again, any question is a perfect question. Just email, let us know that you're concerned about something you see, and we'll either look into it or reiterate if it's actually correct. So
And I
the
just
reason,
want to, Erin, I just want to go ahead and say that, as much as we say it, when parents receive the application or when they download the application, they're like, oh my God, District 20 or District 22. But this is not, this is wrong. No, it's actually correct. It's just like Erin had mentioned, you guys are I just want to say, like, we're kind of unique in a way that some families just sit into two separate districts. So you will have in your application, if you are District 15 and District 20, your application will say District 20, but because your child sits at the District 15 school, child is eligible to apply to any District 15 middle school. Right?
and yeah, and I mentioned Ditmas, but it actually opens up all the District 20 schools. Ditmas may be your zone school, but it will also allow you to rank any other schools in 20. So you'll see that your possibility of choices could be 30 choices. You're going to rank 12 up to 12, but there are many possibilities. If you are two different districts, you're going to see a lot of possibilities. So I wanted to share that I spoke a little bit about like a citywide, like Mark Twain. I don't have any information. But what you'll need to remember to do is that if you're interested in having your child audition or screen for Mark Twain, you'll need to express interest in Mark Twain and then rank up to 2 talents on the application. That could be theater and math and computer. It could be some kind of sports. And again, it used to be all in person. Last year, they had families upload videos in the area of interest. So just remember that you'll need to express interest with a ranking and also with the talents that you're interested in. And then again, I'm just sharing that in place of what used to be an appeal process is now a waitlist system. The waitlist system, the way it works is that you can add yourself to be a waitlist in any school, but you'll automatically be waitlisted for anything above the choice you got. So if you get choice 4, you're on the wait list for 3, 2, and 1 automatically. Anything underneath 4, say that you're like, I should have put this, I would still consider this, I should have put this, you'll be able to add yourself on a wait list that was either a higher number or not on your original application. Okay, Jackie, you can go ahead. And this is just a little sheet to just show you how you're going to register for My Schools. You'll go to myschools.nyc. You'll enter your child's OSIS number, which is on many, many documents. And you can, if you're having trouble getting it, it's accessible. You can just reach out. You'll enter your personal creation code, which is that really strange set of like 12 letters, and that you'll change to something that you can remember, make a note of it. And then once you're created, you'll be able to view your child's information, and we'll ask you just to verify for our accuracy and make sure that there's no questions that you're having about what's put on that application. I will just say here that, you know, in the past, middle schools were able to view grades and attendance. And then in the last couple of years, in trying to make this an equitable process, District 15 changed that. I'm assuming we're still doing everything blind with ranking, where middle schools are not looking at your child's grades, scores, or attendance. But if that changes, I will let you know in the next couple of weeks. But as of, according to how we had the process last year, your child will be you'll be ranking in the order that you most prefer schools, and it will not be that middle schools can view scores or grades or attendance, and middle schools are not selecting children on criteria. It's a move to more of a lottery system. Okay, Jackie, you can go ahead. Actually, I would say it's less tentative now that they have given us an actual timeline, but the Department of Education has let us know that your letters will come out in the next week, because your application will open on October 26th. The training for school counselors and liaisons for middle school is next Wednesday, the 19th. So my assumption is that once we have been given the updated training, you will receive your access codes. So if that's the 19th, then you'll have about a week to just view. You'll be able to log on and create an account, make sure the information's correct, and the application will be open on the 26th. The application deadline is December 1st. So you have from October 26th through December 1st to think about the schools. You'll see the application is that you can use it as a worksheet. You have not submitted anything until it's submitted. And even further, if you submit it and you feel like you made a mistake, you can go back to it as long as the deadline is not passed. So after December 1st, I do not recommend you changing your application, or it'll be noted as late. But up to December 1st, you could have submitted 5 times and then come back and said, I made a mistake, and pull it out again and resubmit it. You will not be penalized. there's no benefit to submitting earlier. And there's no issue if you submit right up to November, to the holiday, to the end of November. It will only be that you could potentially have an issue if you're after the deadline. And then again, charter school applications are all each separate per school. So just remember that those that you're interested in, you'll do separate applications and it will not appear on your application from My Schools. In the spring, April is the tentative placement letter notification, and that's when you'll get that one school that your child received or is placed in. And then again, the wait list will be in place shortly after, but not immediately. June through the summer, waitlist updates are ongoing. We see some movement in wait lists that you're on. We see kids get schools that they didn't get in the beginning. So I would say just hang in there. It's not that I see a huge flow of getting your first choice if you didn't get it the first time, but there's a possibility that if you get something you don't want, there's a chance you could come up for another seat. With that said, I guess that's a good time to say, you may put 12 choices and you could get your 12th, or you could get a choice you did not put. And I'm only saying that because it comes as a surprise, especially if you're zoned for DITMIS, you could be given DITMIS even if you didn't put it. So I'm only saying that that's why your order of preference is most important. It's really important that your voice is there to say, this is what we want in this order. Doesn't mean it guarantees you anything, but it means that you have put in like, this is what I want. If you only put a couple of choices, the Department of Education may put you into a school that you didn't put at all, because if you didn't get choice 1 or 2, then you could potentially get something where there's a seat where you've been placed on, and that would be in the lottery, your child could be placed there. And again, wait lists are ongoing. Jackie, you can go ahead. I think I'm gonna pause for 1 minute. And I'm just gonna say that there's more information to come. So I just want to check in and make sure that there's not a question up to the point that we are right now regarding district, regarding choices, how many you put, regarding My Schools. Are there any questions? And you can feel free to unmute or give us a little hand if there's a question about something we've already gone through.
Hi, Erin. This is Christine, Juliet's mom.
Hi, Christine.
Hi. So I've been trying to change my email address on My Schools. I was doing it last year. I just can't seem to get that changed.
Okay. Can you give me a message and I'll see if I can do it, because ATS, everything populates to My Schools through ATS. So it just may be that it needs to be done from a central perspective. So can you just give me an email and I'll just make sure that the email you send me either is the one you want, or give me in the body of the email which email you'd like registered.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure, of course. Callan?
Hi.
Hi.
Calvin Scott, Elsie's parents. We had 2 questions.
Sure.
One is, where do we look up our district? We're not sure how to figure where we.
I include it in the workshop, so I'm going to get there. I just
Okay.
paused so I could take a drink of water and not lose my voice, and then
Okay.
also not get too far ahead. But I'm going to give you the website, and I'm going to show you where you can check. And I'm glad you asked, because don't forget that you have to look elementary school and middle, because you may see PS 130 District 15 and say DITMIS District 20. So don't just look at the elementary one, just make sure to look at both. They could be different.
Okay.
And I really lost track. Yep.
And the second question is just
Sure.
the middle school panel on November 9th. Do we have a time frame? Is that usually like after school, or is it during after
It
school?
is. It's usually virtual. I don't know if Gretchen's still here, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
usually
she actually got a prior engagement, so she's not here. But I'm thinking they will probably be in the evening time, 6 o'clock.
Okay,
So,
okay, thank you.
And she
Welcome.
mentioned it's 2 hours, so I would say maybe think of about 6 to 8. Hey, Halsey. Okay,
we have two other people. Miss Edwards, you want to go ahead?
Hi, good evening.
hi, good
I have a
evening.
question regarding the lottery that's always been very vague to me.
Okay.
How is there a possibility of you being matched to a school that's not on your list of 1 to 12 if you chose to do so?
Okay,
If it's not a probability, mathematically, it doesn't make sense. Can you help me?
it's still coming, so I'm gonna pause, I'm gonna say just hold off, because I'm getting right to that part where they talk about how they do the lottery, so if I haven't answered in the best way that I can, then back in the second, when we're getting to the end, just ask again.
Got it, no problem. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect, thanks.
Hi, I'm Medina. Sorry, I'm
Hi.
using a volunteer thing, which is why it
That's
says
fine.
name, that's not my name, and I can't change it. I just want to be 100% clear. I think I understood what you said, and I just want to make totally sure. If we are
Sure.
zoned for 15 for elementary and 20 for middle school,
Mhm.
we can choose of our ranking of 12, we can choose 12 from both districts. It's not 12 for one or 12 for the other, nor is it we have to pick which one it is. It's just we get double the choices for the same list.
They're
of
all
12,
the
right?
possibilities.
Okay,
Yes, that's true. The only thing I want to just be clear about is I won't get too into this piece of it, but except to say, what I said about 15 is it's a blind lottery.
yes.
20 is not. 20 does see children's scores. So that complicates it only in the way that ours is a truer lottery where you say what you want, and picturing the lottery, the balls are shuffling around and there's a placement. But in 20, they are still looking at scores. It's not just one score. So it's report card, test scores, attendance. And the reason that can complicate things is because it starts making us think about strategies we want to take. And the truth is, for 15, there is not that piece. So I'll say at individual meetings, if families want to know my thinking first, I'll say, if you're interested in 15, it shouldn't be like number 4, thinking like it's all an even lottery. It can't be, because one is screened and one is not. So, but you are asked to put the rankings in order as if they're all in the same pot. So it is a good question. I'm sorry if my answer is a little complicated, but I want you to just not, I don't recommend families to put like all 20 and then throw in 15 and think, oh, I really want 15. 15 is a little bit more, it's that blind process now. And 20, depending on the school, can be, they may take one student of ours every year. So it's just to keep it in perspective. It's not like 20 of our kids are getting in to Krista McAuliffe or McKinley. So I will say that we can talk about that in some of the more individual conversations.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, if no one else is, Jackie, anyone else waiting? You're muted.
Sarah is. Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay.
Hi, thank you. I'm Max Heller's mom. I'm just curious about kids who have 2 different home addresses, and if they both, if you can use both addresses for the rankings.
You can't. And the reason is because as I was saying about ATS, which is where your address is, I will say that just to be sure to double check both of those addresses and see what the zoning is. And if that's important to you, you may have to do that address change, because what's in ATS is where your zoning is going to fall. So if you say, hey, where my child's equally in 2 different homes, this address zones differently, you may make like a temporary change just because it's going to change your zoning. That reminds me, don't wait to do that, because it takes time for ATS to populate a change of address. So you don't want to shift in your application in the middle of like it being due. So if you are considering bringing proof of address and doing a change of address, I would say do it as soon as you see or decide which school, I mean, which address you want to use. Again, it needs to be where your child's staying. But if your child's equally in two households, it will not allow you to put both. It's impossible actually for the system to even populate that way. Whatever's listed for the school in ATS is what will appear as your priority district on the application.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, sure. You think I'm good to go on, Jackie? Anyone waiting?
Yes, I think we're good.
Okay,
We go back and share.
sure. Okay, so this is another piece I'm sharing based on last year. If this is to change, I am not aware yet. So I'm sharing with you as it was left off with me last year. A couple of years ago, in again, making the process more equitable, District 15 started a diversity plan for middle school. Along with the blind ranking and the lottery, there was a creation of a diversity plan where students were prioritized in that lottery. So it's not a true shuffle of lottery balls jumping around and your child gets placed that way. There are priority seats based on what I'm sharing here. Again, tentative until they confirm with me that this is the same. But what the simplest way to say it is that a little over half of the seats are prioritized for students that are receiving services for English as a second language, students in temporary housing, students receiving free and reduced school lunch, and I'll get back to this link in a second, students with special education services, and then the remaining 48% are in the shuffle in the second half of the lottery. So I'm going to share this with you because I know that that's a lot to remember. You may be thinking that PS 130, all the kids get free lunch, which they do, but it doesn't mean that all of you are noted as free or reduced lunch. So this blue My School apps that you see here is going to also be a place that you can go do a lunch form and complete. It's based on household income. And what it does is just, it shows whether, like, if PS 130 wasn't all free or reduced lunch, everyone would do this form. And then it would be based on household income, whether you would be in that category of receiving free lunch. So again, that's these 52%, these are all ways that children get prioritized. So if a child is receiving free lunch with an IEP and living in temp housing, they're going to have like the highest priority for their choices, like starting with choice 1. They're going to have a pretty high priority in choice 1. It doesn't mean that the second half doesn't have the priority. They just aren't going to be in that top number. And most kids don't have multiple levels of what's listed here as priority. So some kids are just living in temp housing, and that may add, you know, something like maybe a child has an IEP or has free lunch or is learning another language, learning English as a second language. Those are just ways that priority is placed in the diversity plan. And we'll share that with you because I know that that's like a lot of information to think about. And it doesn't mean that I have a great mathematical answer for how everyone is placed, but I will share with you a really good visual that sort of shows how it works. But I will say, visually speaking, that that's why the choice order that you put is so important. Where you put choice 1, all those kids that chose that school get bundled and go up to that top. And then based on priority, they're placed. If they don't get choice 1, that bumps down to choice 2. So you're not in a lottery for 12 choices. It starts at your first. If you don't get it, it goes to your second. If you don't get it, it goes down. So I just want to share, it's not like the lottery for 12 schools and then you get what you get. There are priorities. They do look at what you wanted first, second, third, fourth. And so I just say that to say, For your voice to be heard, you put the order that you most want. It doesn't mean that it guarantees anything. But these are the ways that there could be priority given to students. I would call this the most complicated part of it, but in the end, it's really not, because it divides like almost 50-50 the way kids are prioritized, and then the second half are going to be that true lottery for those seats that are there. Remember that District 15, if it has just mathematically 4 really, really, really popular schools that everyone likes, there's not enough seats for everyone in District 15 to go to those 4 schools. So it can always, all those factors listed here can cause bumping down to choice 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because there just aren't enough seats to put everyone in the district in the schools that are the biggest, are the most competitive. I am going to take one pause just because this is kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that too, Erin, just
Yeah.
before we go into the next. So if there are
Sure.
questions, you can raise your hand or just unmute yourself. Go ahead, Miss Edwards.
Hi, it's me again. So
Hi.
now that I've heard the explanation and I could see the breakdown mathematically,
Uh-huh.
how is it that a family can be matched to a school that is not on their list? What are the probabilities that's in this lottery? Is it every single District 15 middle school?
So, yeah, it is. They're all part of this priority,
Got
but I also want to say, one of the ways that you could get something you didn't put is if you're zoned for DITMAS. If you're zoned for DITMAS, they can say, hey, this is your zone school. You didn't put it. You put these other 12 choices, you could still get number 13 DITMAS. So that's one way. The other way is, as I was saying, and I think I can share the little gingerbread visual that I like. As the kids go all to the choice 1, everybody chose choice 1. They don't get it, they bump down, they bump down. It's just to say that there's a chance kids could keep bumping down 4, 5, 6 times. And if you didn't put it, it just could bump into something that you didn't put, which is why I encourage families to put as many choices as you would reasonably consider, because you don't want them to just choose where there's a seat because you put 4 choices. So I won't be able to have like a number probability, because it's not like that. It's like dependent upon each child's priority, everybody's choices. Again, it's not like you're shuffled in 12 of your choices. It starts with choice 1, then their priorities are there, choice 2, and kids that may end up continuing to be bumped down through those choices could be in DITMAS or could be in another school they're zoned for. If your home zones in another district, you could end up there. And I have seen in very small number of cases, kids get something they didn't put at all. And again, that's not like a question that I can answer with probability, except for to say it's been a small handful, but there have been a few families that got DITMAS that didn't put it.
Tom?
Hi, this is actually Tom's wife, Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Is it possible, can we tell which schools are really popular and hard to get into? Or is there statistics published about acceptance rates, so we can get a sense of whether or not we're picking only really popular schools?
Yeah, and you can also see, like, once you loop into the schools that are when you look at my schools and you go in there, you'll see like, this is how many applicants we have, this is how many seats we have. So then you'll see that like they cannot possibly place, if they have 30 seats and they have 200 kids that typically want them. And again, I'm happy to share things that have been my experience, but I will also say that given the lottery, I think like families that were here, at least over 6 years ago, it was kind of complicated because principals were like choosing students, and it made it really hard if they didn't test well. Or I almost feel like the idea of the equity of this was that you couldn't just handpick kids out and accept them to a school. And then also parents are being kind of pushed to say, you have to choose this school, one or two. And that's just not a thing anymore. When you do a lottery, there's no strategy to putting only choice 1 and 2. So I just wanted to share that because it's not the same as the way it was about 6 years ago. It was a lot of pressure. And maybe if you've been around for that long or had friends that did this, it was a lot. And I think that the lottery piece did bring less hand picking. And listen, I was never a test taker. I'm a person who can write really well. So for me, if you were going to say, here's a test for you to take to get in, it wasn't going to happen for me. So I think they missed a lot of great kids by putting them sort of in that cookie cutter or box. And this opened up, like, what school do you most want? And do you have, an area of priority that you qualify for? Instead of it just being like, if you don't put me, forget it. Like, if it's not choice 1 or 2, it's over. The process is done. You truly have a lottery choice opportunity within any choice that you put. But again, I encourage the 12, because say that your child gets down to choice 4 and you don't put anything after that, you're leaving the Department of Education to just say, hey, you didn't say what you wanted at choice 5, so we're going to shuffle your child into where there are seats left. And I would rather your voice be there for what you would want.
Yeah, we just had one more question.
Yeah, thanks. So regarding the priority, do all students with IEP, are all IEPs basically considered priority, or is this a certain level of services?
Yeah, it's a certain level. So more than 20% of the week. So I will just caution you to like maybe call or email with a separate email, because most of the students at 1:30 are not getting that level of services. They may be, but it has to bring 20% of their school day has to be in special education. That doesn't always include related services like OT, PT. It includes ICT sets or a special placement, which we don't have any special class placement, but we have sets in ICT. But even if your child gets OT and PT, it may not be counted in the 20%.
All right, thanks.
Sure.
I think Carrie had wanted to jump in.
Sure.
Yeah, but I totally forgot what I was going to jump in and say now. But I think what it is on my schools, which is complicated to get the hang of, but then super helpful once you get the hang of the platform. It will list how many for gen ed and for special ed separately, how many students applied for each seat and whether all seats were taken for the following school year, or if they still had available. So something like I found helpful doing when I was scoring or like putting in order my 12 is knowing that the first one that I put down that didn't fill up the year before was probably going to be the school my kid got into, if that makes sense to you, if they didn't get in above. I don't know if I explained that clear enough.
No, it's good. I think once you can get the visual, once My Schools opens, and I think you'll understand also then why we give the list of schools, because if not, you go in My Schools and you're like, wait a second, you put in your house address and you can't see anything familiar. So I'd rather you have a copy of what the possibilities could be, and then you'll be able to search schools that way. But Carrie's right. So then if you have our top list of our 12, then you'll be able to put that school in and get more specific information. And that may make you say, hey, this is super competitive. I'm not putting this as my only top. I'm going to think about these other schools that are a possibility, that they didn't fill all of their seats last year, or, and really look and think, this is the other thing is some families that have been in Brooklyn forever remember old reputations of middle schools. You have to let that go, because schools, just like Brooklyn is so different than when I started working here. It's the housing is different, everything is different. So remember, schools don't stay the same. If you thought schools were a rough or a tough school when you were younger, that school may be a gem now. So I encourage you just to either, I say, step in virtually or in person and give the schools a chance that may have been a stretch for you when you were growing up or in reputation in the past.
Christine? Oh, we don't hear you, Christine. Nope. We don't want to see your living room.
Oh my God.
There
That
you
was
go.
so crazy. That was so crazy. Okay, I'm so sorry. So 4 years ago, when I went through this process, I knew I was zoned for DITMIS, and I purposely did not put DITMIS down on my list because I knew I didn't want to use a spot for it, because I knew if I didn't get anything on my 12, she was going to go to DITMIS. Is that still the case?
So I'm glad you said that because I always forget to say this. It's just not a guarantee, but it's likely. I mean, I've never seen DITMIS say we just can't take anybody else. So they say that you can either put it last or if you're zoned, or again, but it's not like 100% a guarantee. Say that for some reason DITMIS is filled. There could be a time where you could be bumped. I've never seen it in 20 years. So I'm just saying that it's not a guarantee, but I've never seen them bump anybody out. I've always seen them be willing, to have students come, and they've had seats, especially for zoned kids. So you're guaranteed a seat somewhere, but if, say, DITMIS is your zone and it's full, it could be a different school that they could say, hey, you're going to be in here because DITMIS is full. I have never seen that happen. So sometimes families don't put it, and sometimes they'll put it 12 or whatever, right at the bottom as like my last possible choice.
But if I put it on my list, if I put it 12 on the list, will the other 11 be not looked at because she's zoned for it?
No.
No.
So
Okay.
it goes in order. So everything is like, I'm going to give you the little gingerbread people. It's kind of helpful, but everything to choice 1 in priority. If you don't get it, choice 2, choice 3, you won't hurt yourself. Nobody is going to look and go, oh, look, they want DITMIS. That's it. And there are some
Okay.
families, again, that don't put it, they get it.
Yeah.
So what the lottery, the way it works is that by priority, choice 1, choice 2, choice 3. And that's why they've said that the most important thing is to put the order in the order that you most want. But just saying, I have never seen DITMIS say, I'm so sorry, you can't have your zone seat.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Sarah?
Hi, I just had a clarifying question about the special ed and like
Sure.
how that fits in. So if your kid has ICT designation or placement on their IEP, that does qualify them for the 52% or not
It-
necessarily?
It means that it has to be 20%, and everyone in ICT, while the numbers in the class, the percentages are all the same, students have a different percentage of the week where the subjects they're in are ICT. So you just have to look at your child's IEP and just see, like, if there are 4 periods per week, that it would have to be 20% of the periods of the week. And some students are written in a certain way for their ICT periods. So I would just say that you could write me, or Elaine May would probably be able to help us look at IEPs too. And we can just see how a child would be designated based on how much of the week they are receiving those services.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay.
I also say it will tell you when you get your My Schools account. It will tell you if they're gen ed or special ed.
Yes. And just for just because it'll make me remember, paraprofessionals, like even if they're all day full time, they're not 100% services. They're not counted as special education priority services. So I just wanted to share that. It's as it's listed here, sets ICT or a special class placement like 12-1, which we don't have, that would have to be 20% of the week. I hope when I go to the training, maybe they'll clarify some of these things that sort of are hard to strategize, but I know last year, the question of a paraprofessional came up. Some kids have a half-time paraprofessional, and you would think then 50% of services, but it doesn't, paraprofessionals don't count in those services. So if you have a specific question, you can reach out, email, and we can look at your child's IEP.
One is, Ms. Edwards?
Hi, it's me again. So this sounds like the same information from last year. However, last week on 1010 Wins, the mayor they announced that the mayor and the chancellor has a new admission process effective immediately that is for middle schools and high schools. So if you get, I'm sorry about that. If you ladies get any information about that, I guess it'll be coming in the new training. Will you
It
have?
will. So the training that's not generic, that's an actual update, is the 19th. So I
Okay.
should know after the 19th if there's any changes. So I didn't want to not have this meeting because there's plenty of information that is relevant. But I got nervous because I thought, wow, the news is finding out and I don't know yet. So, but I'm hearing District 15 is sticking with the non-screening lottery blind ranking. But again, other schools, if you dual zone, other schools could be screening and could be seeing kids and don't do this diversity plan. And that means that it will sort of put you in a different, shuffle. So, but yes, I will anticipate that I would have hoped that if they were going to make a drastic change that I would have known before now, but I didn't want to. I wanted to continue on because there's so much you can do even if they change 40% of what I've said. I think there's enough to go on.
I did hear from the district, from Christine Farrell, about this, and the new superintendent, Alvarez, he's committed to upholding the diversity plan. So the admission lottery will remain in place. So that's what it was told to us this week.
Yeah, they said on the news, some districts are going the opposite direction, but I had heard 15 was staying. So thank you, Jackie. I hadn't heard yet. And yeah, it's gonna, I guess, all start happening pretty fast. So I figured let's just get out with what we can right now. And I'll just put a little disclaimer and then update if I'm wrong. Any other questions pressing right now? Okay. So Jackie, we can go ahead. In preparation, again, you'll just get look for your My Schools letter. If you don't get it and you're hearing buzz that people have gotten them, please email me or call me and I can help you get your letter. Check individual websites for virtual tours or in person. I'm not sure yet. But again, you may have already seen on Constella, as we receive information, we send it, but it's not something I think you can't wait for us because we won't get everything. So it's the 5th grade committee. It's us. It's a parent who's a friend that says, hey, did you hear? Or it's you checking their website and saying, this school's important to me. Oh, I see they're opening up their tours. So it is parent communication together. I recommend 5th grade parents to team up because it becomes a lot of schools for you to investigate. When you could team up, say, well, we're going to look at this school, we're going to look at that one. How did you feel? It doesn't mean another parent can choose your child's school for you, but they can say, wow, it felt really big and like busy. And I don't think my child could be in I need a smaller school. So I think it just helps to network. And I think the 5th grade committee is great for that. And then your personal connections with families, talk to each other about what you felt on a tour, divide and conquer. You sign up for one tour, they sign up for another. and then reconvene and say, this is what it felt like for me. The CEC meeting is principals sharing. It's a well-attended meeting. And the principals, when they give them a little bit of time, they want to keep sharing about their schools. So again, these are all ways to find out what's going on in these middle schools. We're going to share on the last page, there's going to be important websites, and on one of them is a sign up for email alerts with the DOE. Sometimes you'll get an alert before I do. So sign up for DOE enrollment alerts. And then when the application is open, you're going to get a little ping. It's going to say middle school applications are open on my schools, or you should have received your letter. So I think it helps for 5th grade just to sign up for those alerts. There may also be general DOE alerts if something's happening citywide or borough-wide. So I think it's fine to just put yourself on there for the senior year. And if it becomes too much, I don't know what the flow of it is, but you can always go off of it, but it's helpful. Parents have told me something's coming up and I haven't gotten notice yet. So it gives you like the heads up. Searching private specialized programs. This link is important for charter school because one thing I didn't say is that there are some different zoning pieces with charter. So when you go to check your home address, you'll go to this New York City charter school search. Because it may be a little bit different for charter. So you can't search the DOE one for District 15. It may not be the same for charter. So we've included the link here that you'll receive, and you'll be able to search charter schools and make sure that you're actually prioritized. But charter, just to share this, anyone can apply. And if 1,000 kids apply, everyone comes back with a number. You're either accepted, number 1 through 60, or you're waitlisted, and you could be number 185, or you could be 999. But you get a number, and there is some movement in charter. And the other piece about charter is personal choice, whether you want to apply. It just, at times I see it give a backup if you end up not getting a placement where you want. Charter is a separate offer. So when I said that you get 1 placement, if you apply to 2 charter schools, those are 2 separate offers. So I just wanted to share that some families feel better to just do it because you don't have to take it. But if you miss the application there, you can't get it back. All the seats will be numbered already and waitlisted. So if you're even slightly considering charter, it does not hurt you to just put that application in and have it be there in case you need to fall back on it. Or charter may be what you want right from the beginning, but it's a different process. So I want to encourage you that if there's 1% of you saying, oh, I would consider that, Bugs or Brooklyn Prospect Charter, just go ahead and put the application, and you can just say no later if you're not interested. And then again, just network with 5th grade families. Be sure your email address is current and working. And that it's shared with the school, the one that you want to use. We'll give you our District 2015 and citywide list of schools. Create a list of your child's interest. They can take a look and, Google and see what are they most interested in having in their school. Do they want a smaller school, a bigger school? What programs are important to them? And then have an opportunity to work on a little plan to say, this is what we want. Transportation and distance is a big deal for our district. It's pretty widespread. It's from real close, just the B67 all the way to Red Hook to Sunset Park. So it matters if you're not going to be willing to send your child further away. You may say, I can't apply to these 10 schools because it's just too far. And listen, I also say stretch your mind to say that what sounds really scary about where your child might travel, it might become more normalized as they get into their teenage years and they start wanting to do those things on their own. I recommend you do the map out the transportation with your child so that you see what's really practical distance-wise. Or some families, if a parent works somewhere close by, they commute with their parent, they go to their school, and it could be a little further apart because you're commuting together or you have a sibling that you're commuting with. So I'll just say that the distance transportation is pretty important too. And this is a good time once you're looking up the schools to say, wow, that's kind of close, but it's still a train and a bus or a train and a big walk. So I would say that I want to say that just choose the school you most want, but because we're so widespread all the way even to Atlantic Avenue, it's important to be sure and see how far something is. If you're not going to go that far, then I would not put it because it may be what you get. And then your child, is going to have a commute that you didn't anticipate if you don't take a look at it. So mapping your route, looking at private schools that you're interested in and what their personal deadlines, if your child's a ballerina and they're gonna apply to, a school for dance or for sports or whatever it is, it's important to know that if there's a private school that has a screening, they may have their very own requirements, deadlines, programs, and it's important to stay on that if it's a specialized program that you may not receive from us. And then again, just connecting with fifth grade families. Your child's application's pre-populated with all the information. You're going to rank the schools you want in your true order of preference, up to 12 choices. Grades and attendance are not accessible in District 15, but may be able to be viewed in other districts. Charter schools are independent of the application. I want to just say that you'll see My Schools is a little bit, like Carrie said, a little funky in the beginning. But once you have the list of schools in front of you, it'll be easier. You can put your house address in, and then you'll see every possibility pop up, which may feel overwhelming. But once you have the schools list that we're going to give you, you'll know like, oh, this is 15 where our kids typically go. It's not too far or it is too far. And then you'll have an easier time with My Schools if you have the schools that are a possibility listed. Again, charter separate, just make sure to go on and look at your zoning for charter, and then you can apply to any, but they're prioritized by your house address or zoned by your house address. These are just the helpful online resources, fifth grade committee email list, the New York City DOE admissions enrollment website. Okay, so here where you see New York City Public Zone School, that is the place where you're going to put your house address in. And again, be sure to look at elementary and middle, and just be sure to look at both schools, both levels for what you're zoned for. The next one is where I shared the DOE would give you those updates. And then just general school sites are great schools, inside schools, but just remember that sometimes kids just pop on there and do it like a blog and say, this is the worst place on the planet, and it's because they had a bad day at school. So I just say that some of the websites are better than others about the stats and about the opinion. Remember, an opinion is an opinion, and someone could have one bad day and write something up. Just remember, try to use it for information purposes as opposed to single opinions. But we give that because it just gives like rankings, it gives, scores for different things about each middle school. And I think I did it. So I'm going to ask now, again, I'm just going to revisit questions. It's a lot of information. I know it can feel overwhelming, but you don't need to feel like this is the last time that you're going to have a chance to speak about it. We're going to be here. We do individual meetings, group meetings. We do assistance with the applications if you're having trouble with My Schools. If families need translation, we absolutely can help with that. Again, it's recorded and we will give families a chance to view it. So I'm going to pause and just ask if you have questions, and if you leave the meeting and say, oh, I should have asked this, or I didn't hear this part, you'll just email, and you don't need to feel like this is the end all be all. We'll have a lot of communication this year.
I'm gonna try to put it in the chat. I just disabled the chat. The link, if there's anyone who has not signed in, please go ahead and do so. Harry? You might have stepped out for a second, but I'm just going ahead and try to.
Okay.
I know that there's someone raised their hand. Alan? You just-
Is there an easy way to determine which schools can accommodate kids with ICT needs?
So they all have ICT. But what you will see is that some schools are a full ICT model. So like 442, just for one example, does an ICT model. So then they're modeling their middle school after the ICT class. But all of the schools have ICT.
And
I
how
can't
would,
say that about charter because some of the charter schools may have different, pieces with the IEP, but all of the District 15 schools are ICT and or pull out services for academics.
and is there like a place that they would list like ICT model? Like, how would we know that and looking through the material?
I want to say that you're going to see that you'll see that either the percentage, like when you look at the middle schools, you'll see the percentage that's an ICT placement. So say there's 2 classrooms ICT and 2 classrooms that are gen ed only, and then that will give you an idea. And what Carrie was sharing is that you'll be able to see the seats that are slated for ICT and the seats that are slated for just gen ed non-IEP. So if that helps, I think once you see my schools, and I do want to say, you don't have to wait for your password just to start looking at my schools in terms of general middle school information. You don't have to log on, scroll all the way to the bottom and choose your language, and you can put in your home address and you'll get the schools that would be a possibility for you. You just won't see your child like listed in your address. So once the My Schools comes out and you log on with your personal information, you'll get your child's application. But right now it's a tool that you can certainly put in information and get back. These are all your possibilities from citywide to Nest and to Mark Twain, all the way to District 15. These are your possibilities. Once you get your personal application, you'll be able to play around with like the worksheets in there. But you should be able to go there, put your address in. I gave you the one to check your address, but once you look at My Schools, you'll see that you can actually start to look at the schools. And you can start to explore what the system is like so that it's not like the first time once you log on.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Erin?
Yeah.
Oh, can I say one thing real quick? So
Sure,
my
please.
kid was a 5th grader last year, so I just went through this. They're in ICT with above 20%, right? Because most kids who are in an ICT class will be above it, the 20%. Every single school in District 15 had an ICT option for the grade level. I'm not sure about District 20 because we don't live in District 20, but every middle school in 15 we qualified for.
And Jen, I saw your chat. I'm just looking at one example. Bugs is open until April 1st. I wouldn't recommend waiting till the very end, but you have a bigger window open for charter. So they give you like, from now until April or March. Again, I would check each individual site, but I'm looking at Bugs and they're saying April 1st is the deadline. Jen, are you still here, Jen?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, good. Thanks.
I know that I had a parent who just emailed me about My Schools account. Just keep in mind, My School is separate from the New York City, from the NYCSA, New York City Schools account. And My School, that's an application where you will go and apply for pre-K, you will apply for kindergarten, you will apply for middle school and for high school. So that's just an account just for admission for pre-K, kindergarten, middle school, and high school.
Yelena, I'm sorry, I missed you.
That's okay. I just had a question about like lottery numbers.
Sure.
Is that still gonna appear in the My School account thing,
That
or is
was-
it a different model now?
That was something new in the last couple of years. I can just say that I would think so, because families felt better to know their number. But I'm assuming it's gonna happen again. Carrie's jumping in.
Yeah. So Meredith's daughter's applying to high school and she found out her lottery number.
Okay,
So I'm assuming if high school students are seeing their lottery number, middle school will too.
and just
Okay, because I
remember,
just
it's-
I'm already in my My School account, actually. It's a long story, but I didn't see the lottery number, so I didn't know if that just gets populated later or. you know,
Once your kid's name is in, like
Mhm.
with the
Yeah.
middle school, all the middle school options, if you click on like info
Mhm.
or there's like I forget, like a button that you press to see your kid's information, to check their home address and stuff.
Right,
It's all
edit
the way at the
profile, yeah,
bottom.
which I
Yeah.
did, but it just wasn't there. So whatever, I can take this offline, obviously, but I just didn't know if that was going away or something. So
I haven't heard, but I didn't hear when it popped up. So it popped up and families were going, I don't know what to do on this number. And I was like, what? And I did not know, because we don't see what you see. So families had to log me on and show me what they were seeing, because I actually didn't know what you all were seeing. So if you can't, feel free to call me or email me, because I actually can't see your number without you being you or me being you, like looking as a parent. And we don't get that, the view that you have. So please let us know. And I'm assuming that there was no downside to it. So I'm thinking they'll keep it unless there was too much like pressure around it or something, but I think that it's gonna be back. I don't see any reason it won't be.
all right, thank you.
Sure. Anything else pressing? I promise we're not gonna leave you after tonight. We'll be here, and even if you feel like we spoke about it already, you can just
One more-
ask.
Erin, there's one more question.
That's
from-
fine. Yep.
In the chat, any talks of PS 130 transitioning to PS/MS, perhaps joining the middle school upstairs?
Oh, that's really important. No, there isn't any talk of that, but what's really important about that is I know sometimes families feel like because it's in the building, it's like a guaranteed move. It's not, it's just a shared space. So I'm really actually super glad you just asked that, because there's not any talk of it right now. And I'll just say that there's not a guarantee because the building is shared. You'll still, if you want 839, which is the middle school upstairs from 130, you'll rank it as you want. If it's most important, you'll put it number 1, but you're still in the lottery in the truest sense. There's no priority because you're there in elementary school. It's not the same school, it's just a shared building. And I see a question about the book for middle school. They have not come out with a book, but there is a PDF. It's just that it's like 200 pages, so we don't print them, but you will be able to view it. We used to get a book per district, and now you'll be able to view it. It's just, I guess I think what you're asking is what I feel with my schools is, if you haven't done it before, you don't know what you're starting with. You don't know what school you're looking for. So I think when we give you the list of the schools that are possibilities based on your address or being in 15, it might help a little bit. And then you can go ahead and look at each school that you're interested in. They don't give those catalogs out anymore, but there's typically a PDF that's available. It's just like a lot of pages to print. Nahida, I hope that answer, Nahida.
Can I just comment really quickly on why that list is super helpful?
Uh-huh.
When you sign on to My Schools, and it shows you all the schools that you can apply to. It includes every single non-zoned school in New York City, which there are turned out to be very, very many of. And so it's pages of different schools that your kid can apply to. So it's nice to just have the ones in District 15 and the ones in District 20 to start with. And then you can use a map to also see like which ones in Manhattan or, you know, nearby where you might work, your kid also qualifies for. But it's like, it's overwhelming when every single city school shows up.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's why we decided to just make a master list. And it may not be perfect. You could be missing maybe something shifted, a principal or somebody. But the truth is you need the address, you need the name of the school, and you need to know the possibilities in 15 and 20. It really helps a lot, and it helps you go to the websites to sort of do your own examination. And I do kind of find my schools overwhelming too. It should be that I'm thinking if I put in my address and I live in 15, it should be like 51, 839, and it just doesn't always come like that. Sometimes you have to get to page 3 before something's familiar. So Carrie's right. I'm going to give you the list of the schools so that you're at least starting with something that you're like, where I don't know where to start from. What am I really thinking of going to? I can't search 40 schools in this website. So again, you can look at My Schools Now. It's generic right now. It's just not personal. And the way that the app's opening on the 26th, my assumption is in the next week, they have to give those letters out, and then the ball will be rolling. And then you can always reach out if you don't get your letter. I see, thank you, but I want to thank you all because it really helps that you've attended, and that if you know someone who couldn't attend, please tell them that, you know, it's important to watch the video because it's just so much information. So if you have somebody who didn't attend, just feel free to share that we'll give the link. Yeah, just share, tell a friend.
And if you haven't signed in, please, this is your final notice. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I'm actually going to start recording now.
And if you have the time, and if you don't have the time, make it. The 5th